Week 7 Day 1. Much ado about a haircut. Perhaps you read about our school in the newspapers? We were one of the first to have a showdown on the topic of long hair for boys. Two honor students, Ron Harris and Len Chester, were sent to the principal by their French teacher, an implacable foe of nonconformists, who went into a paroxysm of anger when she spied the boys in the hall. At first it seemed like a simple case. The school would reprimand the boys for their reprehensible appearance and order them to cut their hair or be suspended. But the boys' parents decided that the school had overstepped its jurisdiction. They took their case to the newspapers. What had started as a local skirmish now began to take on the appearance of a full-scale war. Sample sentences. 1. The detective was implacable in his search for the murder weapon. 2. Saying that it was beyond his jurisdiction, Judge Klein refused to rule on the case. 3. In a paroxysm of rage, the tenant stormed out of the landlord's office. 4. The precocious boy enjoyed an intellectual skirmish with his elders. 5. The brash student was forced to apologize for her reprehensible conduct. Week 7 Day 2. The tempest spills out of the teapot. Once the newspapers got the story, the case of the Longhairs became a cause célèbre. Ron and Len were interviewed, seen on TV, and regarded by their fellow students as heroes. These are not delinquents or hoods. One reporter wrote, but clean-cut American boys who are being harassed by a monolithic school system. A caustic editorial referred to the school's decision as arbitrary and inane. A false story even circulated about the boys being rock and roll performers whose indigent families needed their salaries. Finally, the Civil Liberties Union jumped into the fray with a court order stipulating that the principal be required to show cause why the boys should not be allowed to return to class. Sample sentences. 1. After the fray, the feuding families agreed to patch up their differences. 2. The indigent client was surprised when she was accosted by her social worker in the elegant restaurant. 3. To my mind the decision was unreasonable and arbitrary. 4. George Orwell's 1984 depicts a frightening, monolithic government. 5. If anonymous telephone callers harass you, the phone company will give you an unlisted number. Week 7 Day 3. Haircut dilemma. The school authorities were stymied. Public opinion had been marshaled against them. No longer was it a simple case of disciplining two wayward lads. Suddenly it had taken on the appearance of a nightmare, in which the principal was either hanged in effigy or pictured in cartoons, making a villainous swipe at the two innocent Samsons. But the officials could not allow Ron and Len to flout their authority with impunity. Members of the school board concurred with the principal's action, but they were cognizant of the popular support for the boys. Clearly a compromise was called for to resolve the turbulent situation. Sample sentences. 1. Coach of losing team hanged in effigy. 2. Cause of cancer continues to stymie doctors. 3. FBI cognizant of clandestine gangland meeting. 4. Many motorists flout traffic laws, study reveals. 5. Turbulent atmosphere in angry Senate chamber. Week 7 Day 4. Happy ending? Following an executive session, the school board ordered the principal to terminate the suspension, and to send the boys back to class forthwith. Unless it could be shown that their presence disrupted the learning process, there was no reason to bar the boys. It was a bitter pill to swallow for the principal, whose irritation was exacerbated by the ruling. But some of the sting was taken out of the victory when the boys appeared in school the next day, with their hair clipped to a respectable length. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Just as things were about to revert to normalcy, however, the same French teacher then demanded that a girl be ousted from school for wearing a mini skirt. Sample sentences. 1. It seemed incongruous to terminate his employment just when he was so successful. 2. Upon seeing the show, he called the TV studio forthwith to protest. 3. The ushers moved with alacrity to oust the disorderly patrons. 4. After taking the drug, she began to revert to the days of her childhood. 5. The arrest of the spy did much to exacerbate relations between the two countries.